Hey, creative souls, writers, word witches, thank you so much for tuning in. I am so happy that you're here. In this video, I want to talk about how traveling can enhance and inform your writing practice. Before I get to the details of that, I want to do a quick introduction. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Johnny. I'm a published fiction writer and a retired adjunct writing professor. For 2 decades, I helped college students get their words on the page. Now I teach fiction writing and screenwriting to adults in custody. I call myself a word witch, and if you want to know more about what I mean by that, check out my video called On Being a Word Witch. I believe I'm on this earth to heal the world through stories, whether it's the ones I write and tell or the ones that I help you write and tell. I'm new here on YouTube, and I would sincerely appreciate your likes, shares, and subscribes, and any comments you want to leave, because when you do these things, it helps with the algorithm, and it will help me grow my channel, which I'm very invested in, because I'm really wanting to create this quiet movement of creative, sensitive souls who embrace the belief that stories can heal the world. Because as I always say, stories can heal the world, so let's do it together. And some quick info about my Alchemy of Writing membership group. If you're not already a member, you have until July 1st to get it at the founding member price, which is $18 a month. And that's if you want to meet with us once each week online to write together in silence. If you want to meet 2 times a week, then that's $28. As of July 1st, the price is going up to $28 and $38, depending on whether you pick once or twice a week. Also, what we have right now is a live Q&A once a month. That will continue. Starting July, I will also be adding a community platform where you can all gather and talk about writing, share your work if you feel safe enough doing that. And that takes time, so I don't expect that would happen immediately. And then also in July, I will be finishing up the Alchemy of Writing course, which is about how to conjure and nurture your enduring writing practice. And for anyone who is a member, they will get that for free. And anything else that I add to the membership group, you will also get all of that either for free or at deeply discounted prices moving forward until the end of your lifetime of your membership. And so the price won't go up on you. You will maintain all of the features of it now and any that come along in the future. So it's a great deal. I'd really love to see you in there. I'll put a link in the description so that you will know how to register for that if you would like to. So now let's move on to the content of this video, how traveling can enhance and impact your writing practice. From what I've observed and my own experience, it seems like many of us who are writers, if not most of us, have a kind of wanderlust about us. We love to travel, we love to go places, and even though for me, who I'm a Cancer, and I really love my home base, I also love just as much going to new places I haven't seen, revisiting places that I love. It does so much for my writer's brain and heart and soul. I would love to know if this is true for you as well, so let me know in the comments. And I'd love to know if you have favorite places you like to go and write when you don't write at home or if you can't write at home. And I think part of this wanderlust in all of us is that a writer's brain is a very curious brain, and we want to know everything about everything so that we can write about it. And it's not uncommon for me and for a lot of others that I know to go out and firsthand experience something so that we can really write about it from a place of true knowing. And sure, there's imagination, and that's great. We also use that to a large extent, but in my experience, there's nothing like really experiencing the thing or something very close to it when I want to write about it. So here are some ways that travel, whether it's a long trip to another country or a short weekend getaway to, a little cabin in the mountains close to home, can enhance our writing. And like I said, please leave me comments. I would love to know how travel has enhanced and impacted your writing practice. So number 1, we gain firsthand knowledge about the terrain of the area that we visit, about the food that's popular in that area, about customs of the area, and about the weather even. And this can be true even if you visit a small town near the city where you live, because even small towns have their own customs and favorite foods, and the terrain might change a little bit. You might see different vegetation. And for writers, something as small as seeing the bloom of a flower that you haven't seen in a while or that you've never seen before can spark an idea and turn into a whole new story. So it's this, I think, having this kind of almost childlike wonder that kind of overcomes me when I travel anywhere. Because when we are in a new place, this natural inherent curiosity can't help but show up, because traveling creates questions. Where do I go to eat dinner? How do I get from here to there? How does the bus system work? And on and on and on. So this allows you to write, speaking specifically about location, it allows you to write from a wider range of settings more accurately. So when I was writing the second and third drafts of Miranda's Garden, even though I had lived in Colorado for many, many years, a long time ago, I felt the need to go back for a visit and really inspect the terrain in a different way. I remembered what it was like living there and just living there as a resident, but I didn't live there at the time with a writer's mind specific to telling a story about Miranda. So I had to go back and experience that terrain again and really, remember how that dry climate, how that feels, or those flash rainstorms that happen sometimes in August in the mountains, and the smell that creates. So I needed to have those visuals of the Rockies, both up close and far away in my mind, because for me, there's something about experiencing something firsthand. I really feel it in my body. It's a very visceral thing that gets me further in my writing sometimes than mere photos or memory. A friend of mine who wrote a series that took place in numerous locations, one being Florida, one being Paris, and there were others, she found that she had to travel back to those places as well so that she could really get it right, really immerse herself in both locations, both cultures. And honestly, it's a great excuse to go on a trip to somewhere that you love or somewhere you've been wanting to go, and you can write it off because you're a writer and that's your job. All right, number 2, traveling encourages more diverse characters and writing. So I think this is really important, that we do our part in encouraging diversity on the page and that we do it well. We want to do it accurately without perpetuating harmful stereotypes, right? So traveling can make you more inclusive in your writing. These days, some people also believe that it's a good idea to hire a sensitivity editor or sensitivity readers who perhaps live in the realm that you're writing in, readers who are different from us, to make sure that we don't perpetuate those stereotypes. Number 3 kind of piggybacks on that last one. Meeting new people can inspire new characters and new ideas. Have you ever met someone or just encountered someone in public who really stuck with you, whether it was their unique way of dressing or moving or speaking? Characters can be born from encounters like this, even if we never speak to the person, because we have writers' minds, right? And once we get a snippet of someone, our brains are often running with a story. When we see the same people or the same kind of people day to day, we can really kind of get stuck in our ability to create interesting and diverse characters. I'm curious if anyone has ever written a character and then met them. That happened to me once. It was a very odd sensation. And I didn't tell the person until years later because I thought it would come across as creepy to them because it was a little unnerving to me. But I'd love to know if that's ever happened to you. Okay, number 4. Traveling can help readjust your mind and your nervous system. When we get our minds out of our day-to-day routine, new ideas can more easily come through. Because when we're in new spaces, as I mentioned before, that inherent curiosity just has to show up because traveling creates questions, and questions spark the mind. And for those of us who are more sensitive, taking a break or being in a new environment is really essential for allowing our nervous systems to rest and regroup. It gives us a chance to reset and refresh, which is always a good thing for our writers' minds. Number 5, along the same lines, being in a different environment also allows your brain to use parts that might have gotten sleepy. The planning process for a trip requires critical thinking, and especially when you visit a foreign country, right? How does their bus system work? What are their customs like? How do I ask for this? What's considered polite? What's considered rude? In visiting a new place and learning about the history and culture, even if, as I said earlier, you simply visit a small town near the city where you live, or you go to a small town different from the one where you currently live, can activate the hippocampus, which my understanding is that this is where our learning comes from. And so when we wear these grooves in our brains, it's the same thing over and over every day. Kind of shaking things up in a not stressful way is really good for our brains. Number 6, traveling to nature is very powerful for a writer's mind, I believe. I don't know about you, but anytime I can be in nature, it changes me for the better. The world is so busy and so loud, and there's so much stimuli, it can be really hard for the ideas and the creativity to flow. So getting out into nature to simply let your brain settle and hear yourself think can really clear your mind and give you new ideas, give you answers to writing obstacles or questions that you've been struggling with. And this is why I love my short trips to a cabin in the mountains. There's never been a visit like this or a trip like this that I've done that has not left me coming home refreshed and renewed and more focused and really calm inside. Number 7, traveling oftentimes gives us time to read. So I've talked in the past about why reading is really essential to a healthy writing practice. Sometimes our day-to-day lives can become so regimented, so habitual, that we just can't find or make the time to read for pleasure. When we can step away from our daily responsibilities and get in a new space, it can really open up time and space for us to read, which is a great way to keep your own creativity functioning even if you're not writing in that moment, and it can also improve our writing. Number 8, traveling also provides us with fodder for future stories. So if you visit a place that really settles into your cells and your bones, like Italy is for me and the mountains are for me, using it as a setting can be a great way to change up your writing and can keep it fresh in your mind and soul, it being the place that you visited. So we can prolong these trips that we love when we write about these places and spaces that we've been. Place is an integral facet of writing life, whether it's our place in which we write or place in terms of the container for our story. Because as I talk about in my Writing Through the Body method and course, setting really does inform identity for our characters and for us. So think, if you had grown up in Paris or Milan, you would be an entirely different person than you are now, unless you grew up in one of those places. If you grew up in a small farming community, like I did for the first 12 years of my life, if I had spent those years in a big city, there's a good chance I would be a different person. And I know there are people who believe we come in as who we are, and part of me does believe that, but I think we are more complex than just that, and more complex than just the culture and the setting and place in which we grow up. But place definitely does inform identity in us and in our characters. A place can also create the tone of the story, because as I said, it's the container in which the story takes place. This is the place, the tone from which the reader consumes the story that we've created. All right, so those are 8 ways that travel can enhance your writing. I'm feeling the need, especially after creating this video. I was feeling it anyway, but I'm really feeling now it's time to get out for a little weekend trip, and so I'm gonna work on making that happen for me. I would love to know, what are your places? Please leave me comments, because as I think I said earlier, it really does help with the algorithm if I can get likes, shares, and subscribes and interaction from all of you. I would love to know where you like to go to write when you need a break from the day-to-day. And if you want to share anything else about your writing life or what you're working on in the comments, I would also love to hear that. I love, love, love hearing about other people's writing projects. And of course, not to ask you to give anything away, so I'm not asking anyone to overshare or share anything they're not comfortable with. But I just love connecting with writers. Again, like I said, I created Alchemy of Writing for all of you. I also created it for myself because I'm also looking for community as a quiet, sensitive soul who loves solitude. All right, so as always, thanks for watching. I send you mad writing mojo. Happy writing.